What do we have here? We have a Mitsubishi I MiEV. To tell you a little bit more about it, it's an all-electric vehicle. It's based on a Japanese kei car that originally had a gas engine. The car is new to America, but not new to the world. It has sold since 2009 in Japan, where it's a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, a few hundred pounds lighter. And they've sold thousands of these cars. The reliability record so far has been reportedly fairly good. It uses a 16 kilowatt hour battery. That battery, incidentally, is the same size as the Chevy Volts. However, they use a lot more of it to give it a 62-mile EPA rated range versus the Volts range estimate of 35 miles range. The EPA rates it at 112 miles per gallon equivalent combined based on a city figure of 126 miles equivalent and highway of 99. When you get into the I MiEV, the first thing a consumer will notice is that it's a pretty basic interior, simple plastics on the dashboard, and there's no armrest actually here that you might like to have. The armrest on the door is a little bit off position, so you can put your arm there, but it's not where you'd like it to be. Certainly not a luxurious interior. It's a functional car. You have a convoluted shifter down here with an interesting gate pattern that prevents you from inadvertently changing your gear position. I have drive and I have eco and I have B. Drive is what you would think, normal driving, and B and eco it tapers back the horsepower a good bit, the kilowatts a good bit, to try to save on the energy. It's better for around town. The B mode amplifies the regenerative braking significantly. So when you're on D-cell, it operates normally like drive, but when you're on D-cell, it will significantly add regenerative braking in. You just slow down really fast. It's almost too much on any kind of decline unless you intended to come to a stop. Well, anyway, away we go. You immediately hear a humming sound. You know, George Jetson would feel right at home in a car like this, one would presume. It's just got this low-pitched humming. Once you get over about 20 some odd miles per hour, it tapers off to nothing, and you're just driving along quietly. The suspension actuation is just okay. It's if you're going to hit a big bump, you'll know it. Prizes with this car, it's got traction control, it has ABS, it has airbags. This car is definitely not a golf cart. That said, it did not get as many stars rating in its crash testing as the Chevrolet Volt and the Nissan Leaf did, for example, but it doesn't feel scary. I have a eco gauge and a charge gauge, and it just sort of shows with a red needle where I am in the power band. If I punch it to the floor, the power goes zing to the end, and it tells you you're using maximum amount of electricity. Anytime you let off the accelerator, it goes into a blue charge zone. So it's actually giving back energy instead of using energy. Now, ultimately, this is a net loss system, so you are not ever going to have a perpetual motion machine whereby you can somehow nurse the driving cycle into giving yourself free miles for ad infinitum. But, you know, you can net back a couple miles here and there if you're judicious in how you play with the accelerator and you use the power. Who would this car be for? It's obviously a short range runner. It's for somebody who can get their head around that they're not going to be taking cross-country trips in this car unless they bring along a portable generator towing behind. It's a car for those who just need to go down the road a few miles, several miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, and back. And your orbit is maybe a 25-mile range or less.
the main benefit is not only is it cheap to operate, it's also cheap to maintain. It doesn't have a gas engine. It doesn't have a complex multi-gear transmission. It's got a simple single-speed drive line going through a gear reduction gearbox and a simple motor that doesn't need nearly any kind of maintenance that you would have on an internal combustion car. So while the barrier to entry to get into a vehicle like this can look prohibitive, and you do have to make the mental adjustment that your range is limited and your charge times are longer than filling up at the gas station. If something like this makes sense for you, you also get to save the planet, get to save the beautiful pristine nature that we're standing here by. And so read our review, and if we left anything out, please let us know and we'll be happy to try to address those in comments.